My boyfriend told me I was safe and comfortable, but he'd choose his ex over me in a heartbeat if she wanted him back. I didn't cry or fight. I just said good to know and started planning my exit. Now she's engaged to someone else and he's desperate to fix things. This happened about 6 weeks ago, and I'm still unpacking all of it. I'm 26F, and I was with my boyfriend Jake, 29M, for 2.5 years. We met through mutual friends at a house party, and honestly, it felt like something out of a movie at first. He was charming, funny, ambitious, everything I thought I wanted. We moved in together after about 8 months, and I genuinely thought we were building something real together. But there were always these little comments. Nothing too obvious at first, just small things that made me feel like I was being compared to someone. He'd mention his ex, Sarah, in passing, how she was so spontaneous or how she really understood his creative side. I tried not to be the jealous girlfriend, you know? Everyone has a past, and I figured if he was with me, he chose me. Sarah was his college girlfriend. They dated for 3 years, broke up right after graduation when she moved across the country for a job. From what I gathered, it was one of those right person, wrong time situations. Or at least, that's how Jake always framed it. She was apparently this free-spirited artist type, the kind of woman who'd book a last-minute flight to Thailand or show up at your door at 2 a.m. with paint in her hair and a wild story. I'm not like that. I'm a marketing coordinator at a nonprofit. I like planning ahead, I enjoy quiet nights in, and I've never owned a single piece of clothing with paint stains. Not better or worse than Sarah, just different. Or so I thought. The incident happened on a Tuesday night in April. We'd just finished dinner, I'd made his favorite pasta dish, and we were on the couch watching some Netflix show. I can't even remember what it was now. Out of nowhere, Jake's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his whole face changed. Not in a bad way exactly, but like someone had just reminded him of something he'd forgotten. Sarah's in town, he said, still staring at his phone. She's asking if I want to grab coffee tomorrow. I felt this weird knot in my stomach, but I tried to play it cool. Oh, that's nice. It'll be good for you to catch up. He was quiet for a minute, still looking at his phone. Then he said, "You know, Mia, you're really secure. I've always appreciated that about you." Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. "What do you mean?" He finally put his phone down and looked at me. "I mean, you're not like. You don't get all crazy and jealous. You're steady. Reliable." He paused, and I swear I could see him choosing his words. "You're safe." Safe. The word hit me weird, but I didn't say anything. Sarah was never safe, he continued, and there was this wistfulness in his voice that made my chest tight. She was chaos and passionate. I don't know, she made me feel alive in ways I can't really explain. I should have stopped him there. Should have told him this wasn't a conversation I wanted to have. But I didn't. Maybe part of me needed to hear it. "But that's not sustainable, right?" I said, trying to sound reasonable. "Chaos isn't a foundation for a real relationship." Jake was quiet again, turning his phone over in his hands. Then he looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before, like he was seeing me clearly for the first time, or maybe like he was about to confess something he'd been holding back for years. "Mia," he said, "I need to be honest with you about something." My heart started pounding, but I just nodded. If Sarah called me tomorrow and said she made a mistake, that she wanted to try again, I would choose her. Without hesitation. In a heartbeat. The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the TV, could hear our upstairs neighbor walking around, could hear my own pulse in my ears. But I couldn't hear any good reason why he would say that to me. "I know that's not fair to you," he continued, like he was trying to explain himself. "And I know it probably hurts to hear. But I care about you too much to lie. You deserve someone who chooses you first, and I don't know if I can be that person. Not while I still feel this way about her." I stared at him for what felt like forever. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw something, to ask him why the hell he'd wasted 2.5 years of my life if he felt this way. Part of me wanted to cry. But mostly, I just felt this strange sense of clarity. "Good to know," I said finally. He blinked. "That's it? That's all you're going to say?" I stood up from the couch, surprised by how steady I felt. "What else is there to say, Jake? You just told me that if your ex wanted you back, you'd leave me without a second thought." "I heard you." "Mia, I didn't mean, you meant it," I interrupted. "And honestly? I'm glad you told me. It explains a lot." I went to our bedroom and started pulling clothes out of my dresser. Jake followed me, suddenly looking panicked. "What are you doing?" "Packing," I said, folding a sweater with more care than it probably deserved. "I'm going to stay at my sister's for a few days while I figure out next steps." "Mia, wait. Can we talk about this? I was just being honest. I thought that's what you'd want." I stopped packing and looked at him. Jake, you didn't just tell me you had feelings for your ex. You told me that you've been with me for over 2 years while knowing you'd drop me the second she became available again. You told me I'm your backup plan. That's not. It is exactly what you said. I went back to packing. And the fact that you thought I'd want to hear that, or that it was somehow doing me a favor to tell me? That says everything I need to know about how you see me in this relationship. He sat down heavily on the bed. I love you, Mia. I do. No, Jake. You love the idea of me. You love having someone safe and comfortable who doesn't challenge you or make your life complicated. But you're not in love with me, and you just proved it. I packed 3 days' worth of clothes, my laptop, and some personal items. The whole time, Jake sat there looking stunned, like he couldn't believe this was happening. So that's it? He said as I headed for the door. You're just leaving? I turned back to him one more time. You gave me a choice, Jake. Stay with someone who sees me as a consolation prize, or respect myself enough to walk away. Thanks for making it easy. I stayed at my sister Emma's apartment in downtown Austin. She was incredible, didn't ask too many questions the first night, just made tea and let me decompress. The next day, though, she wanted details. He actually said he'd choose her in a heartbeat? Emma asked, pouring coffee with the intensity of someone preparing for battle. Word for word. And he thought you'd just. What, be okay with that? I shrugged. I think he thought I'd fight for him. Or maybe he thought I'd be grateful he was being honest instead of just cheating on me. Emma shook her head. Men are wild, Mia. The audacity to think you'd compete for someone who just told you you're his second choice. Over the next few days, Jake texted constantly. At first, it was apologies mixed with explanations. He was confused about his feelings and didn't mean it the way it sounded. Then it shifted to bargaining. He'd canceled his coffee with Sarah, he was committed to working on us, he'd even consider couples therapy. I didn't respond to any of it. I was too busy apartment hunting. Emma helped me look at places, and by the end of the week, I'd put a deposit down on a cute one-bedroom about 15 minutes from my office. It was more expensive than splitting rent with Jake, but I had savings and honestly, the peace of mind was worth every penny. The following Tuesday, exactly 1 week after Jake's confession, Emma called me at work, barely able to contain her laughter. Mia, you need to check Sarah's Instagram. Emma, I'm not stalking his ex on social media. That's not healthy. Just trust me on this one. Her handle is at sarahpaints_everything. Look at her latest post. Against my better judgment, I pulled up Instagram and found Sarah's account. She was indeed an artist, her feed was full of colorful paintings and shots of her in various cities around the world. The latest post was from 3 days ago, a photo of her hand wearing an absolutely gorgeous vintage engagement ring, with the caption when you know, can't wait to marry my best friend at Marcus_Chicago next spring. I stared at the photo for a long time. This was the woman Jake would choose in a heartbeat. The woman he'd been carrying the torch for all this time. She'd been in town, probably to share her engagement news with old friends, and here I was, sleeping on my sister's couch because my boyfriend couldn't get over someone who was planning her wedding to someone else. Did you see it? Emma asked when I called her back. Yeah, I saw it. Do you think Jake knows? I thought about all his unanswered texts, his promises to work on us, his sudden realization that maybe he'd made a mistake. I don't know. But I have a feeling I'm about to find out. I was right. That evening, as I was packing the last of my things from Emma's place to move into my new apartment, Jake showed up. Emma answered the door, and I could hear them talking in hushed tones before she called my name. Mia? Jake's here. He says it's important. I found him standing in Emma's living room, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Hi, he said quietly. Hi. We stood there for a moment, and I could see Emma hovering in the kitchen, pretending to clean dishes while obviously listening. I saw Sarah yesterday, Jake said finally. Okay. She's engaged. I know. He looked surprised. You know? It's not exactly a secret, Jake. She posted about it on social media. He ran his hands through his hair. She showed me the ring. Told me all about this guy Marcus she met in Chicago. They'd been together for 8 months, and apparently, he proposed on their 6-month anniversary because he knew she was the one. I didn't say anything. She seemed happy. Really happy. Happier than I remember her being with me. Good for her. Mia, he said, and his voice cracked a little. I fucked up. I fucked up so badly. Yeah, you did. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I built her up in my head all these years, made her into this perfect fantasy. And when she reached out, it brought up all these old feelings, and I thought, he stopped, shaking his head. I don't know what I thought. But I was wrong. About everything. I could see where this was going. Jake, please, let me finish. He took a step closer. Sitting across from her at that coffee shop, listening to her talk about Marcus and their plans and how in love she is. I realized something. She's not the person I fell in love with in college. That person doesn't exist anymore. And neither do I, for that matter. He paused, looking at me with an expression that was equal parts desperate and hopeful. I realized that the life I actually want, the person I actually am now, that's all tied up with you. You're not my backup plan, Mia. You're my real life. The life I chose and built and want to keep building. I felt a familiar ache in my chest, but I'd had a week to think about this. A week to really process what had happened and what it meant. Jake, I said carefully, do you hear yourself right now? What do you mean? You're telling me that you realized you wanted me only after you confirmed that Sarah doesn't want you. You're telling me you choose me now because your first choice is unavailable. His face fell. That's not, yes, talking to Sarah helped me realize some things, but nothing. I picked up my purse and car keys. Jake, I don't want to be chosen because I'm what's left. I want to be chosen because I'm what someone wants most. And you just proved, again, that I'm not that for you. Mia, please. I love you. I know I do now. Now. You know you love me now. After you confirmed you couldn't have who you really wanted. I headed for the door, but he caught my arm gently. What can I do? He asked. How can I fix this? I looked at him for a long moment. There was real pain in his eyes, and I believed that he was sorry. I even believed that he thought he loved me. But I also knew something he hadn't figured out yet. Jake, you can't fix this. Because the problem isn't that you said something stupid or made a mistake. The problem is that you spent 2.5 years with me while believing someone else was your person. That's not something you apologize for. That's something you learn from. I pulled my arm free gently. I hope you do learn from it. I hope you find someone who makes you feel the way you thought Sarah did, and I hope you don't waste their time while you figure it out. Mia, I'm not angry anymore, Jake. I was at first, but I'm not now. I'm actually grateful. You saved me from wasting more years on something that was never going to be what I needed it to be. I opened the door, then turned back one more time. For what it's worth, I hope you find what you're looking for. But I'm not going to wait around while you figure out what that is. That was 3 weeks ago. Jake texted a few more times, but they've tapered off. I heard through mutual friends that he's thinking about moving to Denver, starting fresh somewhere new. I think that's probably good for him. As for me? I love my new apartment. I've been going to pottery classes, something I always wanted to try but never did because Jake thought it was boring. I've been reading more, hiking with Emma on weekends, and honestly, I feel lighter than I have in a long time. Last weekend, I went to a friend's birthday party and met someone interesting. We talked for 2 hours about everything from travel to books to our shared obsession with true crime podcasts. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him without hesitation. We're getting coffee this Thursday. His name is David, and when he looks at me, I can tell I'm not being compared to anyone else. I'm just me, and that seems to be exactly what he's interested in. I don't know where it'll go, but I know one thing for sure, I'll never again settle for being someone's backup plan. I'd rather be alone than be safe. I'd rather be chosen first or not at all. Jake taught me that, even if he didn't mean to. And for that lesson, as painful as it was, I'm actually thankful. Sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is show you exactly what you don't want. Jake did that for me, and now I know exactly what I do want, someone who chooses me in a heartbeat, not someone who chooses me after their heartbreak. I'm worth being someone's first choice. We all are. Update, added 2 days later. A few people have asked for an update, and honestly, there's not much to add, but I wanted to share one thing that happened yesterday that felt significant. I was at Target, because where else do life-changing moments happen, right? And I ran into Sarah. I recognized her from her Instagram photos, though she looked different in person, older, more settled, but in a good way. She recognized me too, somehow. Maybe Jake had shown her photos, or maybe Austin's smaller than I think. You're Mia, right? She said, approaching me in the home goods section. My first instinct was to feel awkward, but she seemed genuinely friendly, so I nodded. I'm Sarah. I think we have a mutual ex. Yeah, I figured. We stood there for a moment, and then she said something I wasn't expecting. I heard you two broke up. I'm sorry if my being in town caused problems. I shook my head. It didn't. It precipitated things, but it didn't cause them. The problems were already there. She nodded thoughtfully. Jake's a good guy, but he's got some growing up to do. Yeah, I figured that out. For what it's worth, she said, he talked about you a lot when we got coffee. It was clear he cared about you, even if you didn't know how to show it properly. I smiled. Thanks. And congratulations on your engagement. Your ring is beautiful. Her whole face lit up. Thank you. Marcus is incredible. I've never felt anything like this before, you know? Like everything before was just practice for the real thing. And that's when it really hit me. Sarah wasn't Jake's great lost love. She was just his first love, and he confused the intensity of first love with the idea that she was the one. But she'd moved on and found her actual person, while Jake had spent years holding on to something that was never meant to last. I hope you find that too, Sarah said, like she could read my thoughts. I think I'm starting to, I replied, and meant it. We chatted for a few more minutes about nothing important, and then went our separate ways. But walking to my car, I felt this incredible sense of closure. Seeing Sarah, talking to her, realizing that she was just a regular person who'd moved on with her life, it made me feel even more confident that I'd made the right choice. Jake wasn't pining for Sarah specifically. He was pining for a feeling, a time in his life, a version of himself that didn't exist anymore. And he'd rather chase that ghost than build something real with someone who is actually there. His loss. My gain. Coffee with David is tomorrow, and I'm genuinely excited. Not because I need someone to validate me or prove Jake wrong, but because David seems like someone worth getting to know. Someone who's interested in who I am right now, not who I remind him of or how I compare to someone else. That's what I deserve. That's what we all deserve. Thanks for reading, and for all the supportive comments. This community is pretty amazing.